Welcome back with a smiling face. Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. Before I could reject him. Episode 5. Chapter 42a. Alice's POV and Flora. I called out to her as soon as the people started to disperse. Yes, dear. She spoke. I have a question for you. Can we talk privately? Of course, dear, she replied pleasantly. Ever since Mark's incident I had a question running in my mind. We walked into the house and I took her into my room. She sat down elegantly in the chair. I was wondering, when you manipulated Mark's memories, was something similar done on me when I was a child, after the attack? You know how I had repressed memory of that incident? I asked cautiously, afraid of offending her. I did not want to accuse her. I was simply curious. She laughed. You are a wolf, Alice. You are immune to most of the spells and magic. You are a supernatural being yourself. Our spells don't work on you. She spoke. Oh. But werewolves do take your help, right? I mean, Lucian's room has certain protection spells. I spoke. That's different, Alice. Those are enchanted objects, and some potions etc. do work for a few hours and on certain ailments, like controlling the heat or masking the scent. But our magic is not strong enough to harm a werewolf. It only works on humans. So be assured I did not manipulate your memory. Your memory loss was purely psychological. I turned red. I didn't mean that, Auntie. I said, embarrassed. She held my hands in hers. Don't worry, dear, I am not offended. You are an incredibly special woman, Alice. It was my honor to protect you all these years. Now, your mate must keep you safe. He is a wonderful man, and he loves you. I could feel my ears tingling and a warm feeling flowed through me. I have hurt him, Auntie, because of my arrogance and stubborn attitude. I broke his heart and forced him to reject me. How can I go back to him? I said tearfully. Nonsense, you are soulmates, you have been chosen by the moon goddess herself to be with each other, he can't reject you. She spoke. But he did, he broke the mate bond, I said sadly. Yet he arrived to save you? Watched over you, made sure that you were safe. Even helped you to resolve Mark's issue. Why would he do that if he didn't care? She had a point. You think he would accept me back? You are a beautiful woman, Alice. Any man would want you, and Lucian is your mate. The way he affects you. You have the same impact on him. She said with a wink. Of course. The way he turned me on, his body would be reacting the same way. Why didn't I ever think of that? I was so obsessed with running away from him. I never thought about how unfair it was for Lucian. I understand your fears, Alice. You had been running away from your identity, your destiny throughout your life. But you could not get away from it. It's time you embrace it. She grinned, then winked at me. I grinned back at her. Talking with her made things a lot easier to figure out. Thanks, Aunt Flora, for everything. I hugged her. I had one more thing to do, apologies to Emma and Bobby. They would suffer needlessly because of me. I was returning from Emma's place when a familiar musky scent stopped me in my track. We were standing in the driveway, so I pulled Lucian away, into a thicket. I was looking for you, I said while he raised an eyebrow. Me? For what? I wanted to apologize. For hurting you, I said nervously. His green eyes stared at for several seconds. Apology accepted, he said as his lips twitched into a smile. And one more thing, I know I screwed up, but is it possible for us? I mean, can we be back together? We were never apart, Alice, we are mates. We can't break up even if we want to. He moved a step further, pushing me back into a tree. I leaned on its trunk. In that case, Lucian Blake, will you take me as your mate and Luna? He grinned and leaned his head to kiss me on my lips. It was not a demanding or overpowering kiss. Just gentle and passionate enough to make me go weak in the knees. Good that I had support. Let's go home, my Luna, he whispered, in my ears. Ever seen a broken dam? How the river breaks through the thick wall which had been preventing its flow. It gushes through the cracks, eventually washing away all traces of the barrier in its torrent of water. That is precisely how I felt. Once my wolf and I were in sync, there was no stopping. Our emotions overwhelmed us. My wolf was eager to be marked, and my body was throbbing madly for him. It was worse than the heat. We were already making out and kissing each other madly like teenagers in the car before we reached the Crimson Shadow Pack. Ahem, Alpha Blake, we have arrived, Damon said after clearing his throat while Peter, who was driving, smirked. Uh-oh. Lucian's muffled voice said from somewhere near my throat, which he had been nibbling on. Babe, we need to go, he said, catching hold of my hand which was clawing on his back, from under his shirt. Panting hard, I nodded. I smoothed out my shirt and hair. I could not do anything about my flushed face, so I just proceeded with him. There was an urgency in the way he escorted me towards the pack house. Alice, it's good to see you back, you look very pink, Catherine said with a puzzled look as soon as we entered the house. Hi Catherine, I missed you, I said, grinning back at her. Catherine, we are in a bit of a rush, see you later, Lucian said. Without breaking a sweat, he pulled me towards his quarters. The wolves loitering in the corridors jumped away, startled. He was hurrying so urgently. He had barely shut the door before I was pinned against it. I closed my eyes, then felt his lips devour my mouth. His tongue broke through my lips and danced with mine. He tasted divine, and I was already aroused. I wrapped my arms around his neck, trying to draw him closer. I needed him badly. I could feel the pull. And the way he was caressing my body, he felt it too. I pulled the edge of the table, breaking off chunks of wood. At last, I could not control and moaned out his name, loudly as I came. Finally, he stopped and moved up to kiss me. I opened my eyes and stared at him. How was that? He asked, smiling at me. I could not speak. I broke your table. What a stupid thing to say. I smacked myself mentally. He chuckled. I want you right now, baby. He rasped. His wolf was close to the surface and I could see that he was struggling to control. I wrapped my arms around his neck. Then tilted his head. Lucian, take me now, I whispered. He looked into my eyes and smiled. He lifted me off the table and all but ran into the bedroom. Laying me on the bed, he crawled on top of me and kissed my swollen lips. Jake has waited long enough for this. Tonight, he would claim his mate. Lucian whispered. Who is Jake? I asked. My wolf, he said, smiling. Mine is Lana, and she already loves Jake, I replied. I yelped and clawed his shoulders, raking them with my nails, drawing blood. I dug my nails into his shoulders, holding him closer. I was exhausted. Guess we will be stuck like this for a while, he mumbled as he rested my head on his arm. I had drifted off to sleep long back. I wondered what the pack would be thinking. We had been going at it for days. The pack is ecstatic and, in a mood, to celebrate, love. So, relax, Lucian said. We could read each other's thoughts after coupling if we chose to keep ourselves open for the other to read. I was not connected to the pack yet, that would happen after I was coronated as their Luna. I don't think I can survive, I commented as we finished, and I lay down on the furs in front of the fireplace. We had been locked in for a week now, just surviving on instant noodles and lovemaking. My body was sore, and my mark throbbed. His room was in shambles. I wondered, would it ever get fixed back to normal? Don't worry about the room, dear, Lucian said as he collapsed next to me, folding his hand behind his head. The wild craving to be constantly connected with him was quite overwhelming. My body hungered for his. I physically yearned for his lips to be on my mouth and body. She for his unrelenting possession. My skin ached to be touched by his hard muscles and hands. His hardness made me feel complete. My body felt strangely reborn, energized, and supersensitive. I giggled. He turned towards me, propping his head on his elbows. I didn't get this one. Learning to hide your thoughts, he asked with a mischievous smile. A girl is entitled to keep a few secrets, you know, to maintain that aura of mystery, I replied, snuggling against his chest. Agreed, however, there is a way to find out secrets. I felt that familiar stirring in my body, but I was not going to fall for it. I chuckled. I was just thinking about what Emma said. That how being intimate with your mate is different from anything else. And he smiled. I agree with her, I grinned. He gave a satisfied smile. Then nuzzled my mark. I have found you after so long, sweetheart. You are a gift to me from the goddess Luna. I will treasure you and devote my life to keeping you happy. You hold my heart. You share my soul. I can die protecting you, Alice. He lightly sucked on my bottom lip, while gazing into my eyes. He continued as his skilled lips trailed kisses on my cheeks. You and I cannot be separated, I whispered in his mind. Your joy will be my joy, your pain will be my pain. My soul and your soul are united together as one. I love you, Lucian, I said into his mind. I love you too, Alice, he whispered and kissed my lips. Though I would prefer staying buried in this luscious body of yours, duty calls, he said after recovering from the kiss. I would also prefer to get out of this mess. I looked around at the devastation which we had caused. And have some real food, I added. He stood up and scooped me up in his arms. I squealed in surprise. Put me down, Lucian, I am not that sore, I can walk. It's faster this way, baby. Besides, I get to hold your delicious body. He smiled down at me. I agreed with his reasoning and wound my arms around his neck. He rained kisses and nibbles on each area of skin, as I washed off in the shower. I returned the favor. Lucian closed the door to his suite as we walked out dressed for the day. It was already past noon, and we had got out after a week. The guards at his door respectfully bowed their heads. Congratulations, Alpha Lucian, on your mating. May your joining is fruitful and lead to many pups, added another one. Lucian warmly acknowledged the greetings, while I wanted to bury myself with embarrassment. Send someone to clean up the room, he commanded. We received several such wishes and greetings from the pack members as we walked towards the kitchen. I turned redder with each compliment. Catherine and Rain immediately greeted me with a wide smile. Oh! Madame Luna, you are finally marked. I am so happy, Rain gushed in her typical excited mode. Thank you, Rain. The whole pack had felt the moment you joined with the Alpha, not that it was needed, we heard everything. She grinned, and I felt myself going redder. Rain, don't embarrass her, Catherine said with an exasperated look. The goddess Luna be praised. I hope you get blessed with many pups. Catherine smiled at us. Thanks, Catherine, but right now, I would prefer some food, over pups. I laughed. Of course, she said, then ordered the serving omegas to prepare a plate for us. They rushed to do the bidding. Please don't mind Rain's blabbering, the pack is incredibly happy, this mating has strengthened the Alpha's right to reign, there would be no more challenges. We all hope, there would be pups playing around soon. Catherine gushed. I nearly choked on the juice which I had been sipping. I had just mated with Lucian, it was too early for the pups. And my heat was not due for the next 6 months. Lucian patted my back and said, stop scaring her, being a Luna is a big responsibility. Let her get used to it first, the pups will happen when she is ready. I smiled at him gratefully, I loved him so much. Where is Savannah? Taking a bite from the roast potatoes and steak which was placed before me. I had not seen her since we had come back. She has gone on security rounds with the other betas. Catherine explained. I was enjoying my lunch, chatting casually with Lucian and others when Savannah arrived with Damon and a few others. Alpha, we need to talk, Damon said to Lucian, as Savannah gave me a wave. I waved back and wondered what it was all about. I need to leave, love. You are not supposed to wander anywhere without Savannah or Catherine. Is that clear? He commanded. I nodded, he was still obsessed with my security and was apprehensive of leaving me unguarded. Can I join you? I asked. He gave a thoughtful look then said, sure, it concerns you, so it's better that you come along. I raised an eyebrow, me? Yes, dear, we have found the suspect who was responsible for the burning down of the cabin. He said with a furious look. I followed Lucian into some sort of conference room. He was seething with anger, and I grabbed his arm and rubbed it to keep him in check. Stay calm, love, I said in his mind. All right, shoot off. Lucian folded his massive arms and commanded his betas to report. As per your command, we had been scanning all the CCTV footage and the area around the burned-down cabin. We didn't find any clue until we came upon a blurry image. Damon darkened the room and started the projector. Few images appeared on the white screen. It was too blurry because of the darkness. But there was one image that seemed to have a bit of red among the thick foliage. On a first look, one would dismiss it as a flower or some bird. Damon zoomed in and there it was, the image of a human, I mean not exactly human, but a shapeshifter in a human form. He or she was covered in a red hoodie. Nothing else was visible. Lucian clenched his fist and growled. Is that all? No, Alpha. This morning we found a shredded red hoodie deep in the forest but not far from the cabin. It seemed to have been lying there for the last few days. Probably, from the night the cabin burned down. And? Lucian asked. We cannot scent anyone from it because it's been washed off by the rain, but we were able to trace the owner of this hoodie. Who is it? Lucian snapped the pen he had been fiddling with. It's Eliza, Alpha Lucian, Savannah added. I could hear his teeth grinding. Lucian was that furious. Hair covered his hands and claws protruded from his hands. His green eyes flashed gold. Please calm down, love. I placed my arm around him and nuzzled his neck. He buried his nose in the crook of my neck and took several deep breaths. The betas looked on perplexed. You can't be impulsive, my love, let's think this through. My soothing words finally seemed to work. His claws and hair faded away. I would like to have a word with the Alpha, in private, I said, addressing the betas. Savannah and Damon nodded with a grim expression and left the room. Is this place soundproof? I asked Lucian. He looked up from my shoulder and nodded. It's not Eliza, I said. He raised an eyebrow. What makes you so sure? I don't know, it just seems too easy, and dumb. She does have her eyes on you. I agree, but I just have this feeling it's not her. I spoke. He sighed. Well, if you know what she did, you would agree with me. He smirked and sent me the mental image of Eliza in a hideous pink satin, on our bed. I lost it. A growl escaped my throat and I lunged at him, pushing him into the wall. My claws had protruded, and I was holding his neck. When did this happen? Did you? Whoa. Easy, love. Do you think I can ever cheat on you? He said, circling his hand around my waist. She tried to seduce me after you had left. That nonsense. I growled. Exactly. She is that desperate, so I am not surprised she tried to kill you. He hissed, pulling me tighter. I thought for a moment. On the contrary, if she is that dumb, to try seducing an alpha with a mate. I don't think she could pull this off. I relaxed, and my claws were gone. We sat back in our chairs and I just could not shake this feeling that there was more to this. The evidence points out at her. He stated. I know, but the evidence can be planted, I said. We'll interrogate her and get out the truth. She would deny it, of course, or might confess due to fear. He ran his hand through his hair. Do you have any better suggestions? No, I said dejectedly. That settles it, Eliza will be punished. He said with finality. What will you do with her? I asked. The punishment for attacking the Alpha is death, he stated. I shuddered. Wolves were swift and ruthless. Any form of dissent was dealt with extreme severity. Please don't kill her, I said softly. Why? Because I am still not convinced it's her. There is more to this. That would be against the pack rules, Alice. As an alpha I can't be soft on them. Banish her, I said. Getting banished from a pack was worse than death for any wolf. Most lone wolves either died or led an extremely hard life. He frowned. You don't trust my judgment? I do, and I want to avoid opposing it. But please, just once. Please spare her life. I pleaded. It was funny I was pleading with him to spare the life of Eliza, who had her eyes on my mate. But I just had this feeling that it was not over. There would be more attacks. All right, I will heed your request, he replied. We walked out of the conference room. Get Eliza to the hall, Lucian commanded, while I sprinted along with him to match his steps. The crowd had already started to gather in the hall as we stood on the steps. This seemed to be a practice here. A quivering Eliza was dragged by some warriors and bade a daemon. Why are you doing this? I said I was sorry. She said while looking at Lucian. Don't you dare address the Alpha in a disrespectful way, Savannah seethed. Eliza, when my mate and I were in the cabin. Where were you? Lucian asked. I was in my home, doing the usual stuff. She spoke. A red hoodie which is yours was found near the cabin. Do you have anything to say about it? Lucian asked with a stern face. Red hoodie? She mumbled. I lost my hoodie. You can ask my best friend, she pointed to a girl. Christine, remember I lost my hoodie in the gym. Lucian turned towards a pale blonde girl who flinched in fear. Is it true? Lucian asked. I do not know Alpha. She claimed to have lost it. But I don't know what happened. The girl stammered fearfully. This doesn't prove your claim, Eliza. Lucian's eyes bored into her. Despite my resentment, I could not help pitying Eliza. Alpha, please, believe me, I did nothing. Please, Lucian, you know me. I admit I have done some stupid things in the past, but I would never try to kill anyone. She pleaded. Enough now. It's not a trial, it's a judgment. Lucian warned. Elizabeth Davis, you are banished from the Crimson Shadow Pack for attempting to murder my mate and your Luna. You deserve death, but my mate wants me to show mercy. So, I am banishing you. Leave within 24 hours. He gave out the command in an authoritative voice. I could feel the surge of power. I could sense his feelings through our connection. Eliza sobbed, and I could do nothing other than pitying her. Lucian clenched his jaws and turned back, walking up the stairs. I followed him, concerned. Lucian, what happened? I asked as he stopped in his now restored study. You were right, Eliza didn't do it. He spoke. So why did you banish her? To ensure that whoever did it does it again, and this time we catch him or her, because Eliza has been framed. He said grimly. That seems to be a smart move, I replied. He looked down thoughtfully. You seem worried. I asked cautiously. It's someone from the pack, it's like how things were 10 years ago. My pack members tried to harm me, my family. He said grimly. I could feel his sorrow, I instinctively hugged him, resting my head on his chest. This time you are not alone, Lucian, your mate is here with you. We'll confront all problems together. Alice, what do you want me to wear for the ceremony? I asked Lucian while scanning through my wardrobe. Anything easy to remove. He replied nonchalantly, without looking up from the reports he was reading. I rolled my eyes. The ceremony which was going to fall on full moon night would be my acceptance in the Crimson Shadow Pack and would sever my ties with my former pack. I had mixed feelings about it. I loved Lucian and was loving the pack, but giving up your past is always difficult. Okay, I need to go shopping, I have nothing to wear. I declared. Darling, I told you it doesn't matter, it would be ripped off you anyway. He said with a glint. It matters to me, Lucian. We spend the entire year on the perfect wedding gown, which is worn for barely a few hours. Men will never understand this. I said, frustrated. He laughed. So, what do you want to do about it? I need to go shopping. I declared, folding my arms. No, that's out of the question, you are being punished, remember? He smirked. Yeah, the punishment, I replied, toying with the silver collar placed around my neck. As promised to Rick, I was forbidden from venturing out of the compound, and a silver collar with a GPS tracker was placed around my neck to prevent me from shifting and making a point to the pack. Rain loved the collar, she thinks it's quite kinky. She has asked Damon to get a similar one for her. I grinned. He looked up at me aghast. Exactly what kind of stuff you girls talk about? He said, continuing to smile. Just normal girly stuff, I grinned back. You are being punished, my love, it's not a fashion accessory. He joked. Well, you never know. It might be the next big rage in the pack. With all the females wearing a collar. I said, giving him a wink. He shoved aside his papers and prowled towards me. Apparently, you seem to dislike the idea of being told to stay anywhere, so it looked like a fitting penalty. But you are enjoying the punishment? Perhaps, I need to think more about the ways of punishing you, my stubborn love. He said mischievously. When am I being punished, my beloved Alpha? I said, grinning, what else would you want to do to me? His calm prowling turned into a mad scramble, as he picked me up unceremoniously and dumped me on the bed. My naughty Luna needs a good punishment, I can see that. His eyes gleamed with lust. Would the mighty Alpha prefer to spank me? I asked coyly, pulling my skirt up. He had a predatory look on his face as he removed his shirt and moved to kneel on the bed beside me. I was distracted by his perfect. Grabbing me around the waist with one arm, his hand came down sharply on me. I jerked and fumbled around on the bed trying to escape his hand, but it was no use. I was overtaken by my need for him. Soon, I found myself soaking wet. No matter what he did, it turned me on. Please, I begged him to stop, though it did not come out that way. I felt hot and it stung everywhere. I was incredibly turned on. He was almost panting with the exertion when he finally decided I had had enough. "Do you mind?" I asked him. "No, do you?" he asked. I felt his hand slip over me as he ground us together, breathing heavily in my ear. "I can't wait for tomorrow, love," he said, grinning as he thrust harder. I panted, though there were many pending issues. He was worried about something, I was not sure what. The brutal thrusts and my stinging created a weird combination of pleasure and pain. As we lay spent, I asked, "What does the ceremony entail?" The so-called ceremony varied among different packs depending on their tradition. In Jade Moon Pack we had a turning ceremony for Linda as well because she was a human. She was turned on the full moon night, then the pack got her scent, and she was declared the Luna. Our ceremony is like yours, you will have to show your strength by either fighting with me or hunting for the pack. This will prove your claim as a Luna. Though, it is mostly ceremonial. Nobody is going to oppose it," he explained. "And after that? After that, we will have X," he said matter-of-factly. I raised an eyebrow. "The pack will run, have a wild party and rut in the woods. What else did you expect?" he said smiling. "We had been doing a lot of that lately, anyway." "Oh well. That seems like fun. I haven't gone on a run-in for ages, Lana would love that." "We should go to bed," he said softly. "Tomorrow will be a busy day." I opened the doors of the balcony of our suite about 9 at night. The air was crisp and cold. I had changed into the dress Rain, Catherine, and I had chosen after reeking our brains for hours. It was a simple white dress. I could slip out of it easily and shift without ruining it. By 10 o'clock, the pack house was so quiet one could have heard a pin drop. I was greeted by Damon, and Savannah leaning casually on a wall as I left the suit. Poor guy had to stay back because of Rain, due to her pregnancy. The kids were locked off in the nursery and pregnant women were advised to stay away from the pack run because they could not shift. The Rain had thrown a royal tantrum, but Damon had been stern about it. I felt bad for her, she would have loved a party like this. "Sorry you're missing it," I said, trying to sound sympathetic. "Ah, the party won't start until you get there," he smiled. "What about you, Savannah?" I turned towards her. "I have my guard duty," she said regretfully. "Who assigned you guard duty on a night like this?" I asked surprised. "It's a service to the pack, someone has to stay with the youngsters here." She shrugged. "You are not having second thoughts, are you?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "What? No. I love Lucian, we are mated." "I can't wait for the ceremony," I grinned coyly and made for the stairs. She stared at me for a moment, then smiled. "I am so glad you chose to stay," she replied, following me down. "I will miss you at the party," I huffed, walking barefoot toward the back doors of the mansion. "All the best," she grinned at me. I was well into the forest now, it was a clear, chilly night with the moon illuminating everything. Looking around, I was alone, but I could still feel eyes watching. There were guards stationed everywhere, of course. I stepped into the open grassy area from the shelter of the trees. The entire pack was present and surrounded a circle of stones. They were all looking at me silently. The moon was high, and several torches lit the area. It all looked very tribal. I moved down the sloping land to the circle. Pack members moved out of my way. I just kept walking and had no illusions about what the night would bring. Lucian was leaning against a stone slab in human form. Our threshold for modesty is much lower than humans. He caught my hand and brought me to the circle. Members of the Crimson Shadow, tonight I present you my mate, Alice Anderson. She will be one of you and rule over you as your Luna. Do you accept this pack member? He booted out. Show us her strength, they called back as one. Lucian turned towards me. What would you like to do, mate? Fight me or hunt? I am not letting you kick me in front of the pack, I will hunt. I smiled, recalling his punishment. Very well, he smirked. The Luna wants to prove that she can hunt and provide for the pack. Amid the howling and yelling, I stripped off my dress and turned toward the forest, becoming the wolf. A few betas shifted and followed me. I opened my mind to Lucian, and he opened it to me. Hunting like this, my wolf loved it. It had been a long time. I found a bounty of the wild game near the river, and I was soon sinking my teeth into the neck of a wild boar. The big animal had put up a huge fight though. I had rolled in the mud several times with it before I broke its neck. I delivered the carcass of the wild boar to Lucian's feet, and he seemed impressed. She can hunt. Do you accept her your Luna? Lucian roared. Yes, we do, the pack roared back. I Lucian Blake take you, Alice Anderson, as my mate and my Luna, he declared and bent his head to kiss me. As the kiss deepened, I felt electricity jolts through my head as several minds connected to mine and opened themselves to me. I was the Luna of Crimson Shadow Pack now. Many Omegas came and struggled to drag my kill toward the cooking fires. The mood was suddenly festive, and the pack was in the mood to celebrate. Well, what now? I asked Lucian. I will give you a 5-minute head start, mate. Tonight, you are my prey, he said with a mischievous look. I understood what he meant. My first pack run. Alice's POV. No one does debauchery better than the werewolves. When the pack parties, they party hard. I turned towards the rest of the pack and saw that other females had shifted and were running into the forest. Every eligible female was running. I then looked back at Lucian, who was grinning from ear to ear. I turned around and started running into the woods. Though I had just hunted a boar, the thrill of being chased was different. This time I was the prey and Lucian were my hunter. I continued to sprint and watched as other males caught other females. If they wanted to mate, then they did. If not, then the female would take off running again in the hopes of getting caught by the male that they wanted. Ready for some tussle, mate? Lucian said in my mind. He sounded close to me. How could that be possible? He was not that fast, was he? I stopped and looked behind, and saw Lucian standing a few feet away. He looked as if he could have kept on chasing after me for hours on end. How are you so quick? I asked. This is my land, I know the shortcuts, baby. He slowly walked closer to me, running his wolf eyes up and down my body. His wolf was as magnificent as his human form. Are you giving up? He teased. No. I turned to run, but before I could, he was standing right in front of me. Are you sure you want to run away from me, Alice? It's not fair, Lucian. I know. He butted his forehead against mine. I pushed against him and licked his muzzle. I am giving you another chance to run. He spoke in my mind. He backed away from me and moved over so that I could run again if I wished. I decided to do just that. He was annoying. I growled at him before running off away from him. I heard him chasing. What if I don't want you, Alpha? I teased. Well, then I guess I'll just have to take you by force. I laughed, but before I could change my direction in hopes of outrunning him, he bumped into me and flipped me on my back. I thought about struggling against him and taking off again, but I was tired. Well, since I caught you, then it's time to finally claim you. He spoke, licking my muzzle. He moved off me. I stood up upright, completely still and waited. He slowly circled me and sniffed the air. Lana trembled with anticipation and noticed that he shuddered as well. He then stopped near my tail and licked with his tongue. I adjusted myself to give him better access and whined for him to keep going. After a few moments of teasing, he stopped and positioned himself behind me. Then he quickly mounted me and entered all in one motion, which made me howl. He clamped his jaws down onto my neck and quickly pumped into me. Our wolves were overjoyed. Together, they rapidly found their release and howled out in pleasure. He collapsed onto me and we shifted. I snuggled into his arms on the soft grass and listened to the other howls and growls around us. The pack was happy and seemed to be enjoying themselves tonight. I felt a strong sense of happiness flowing throughout everyone through the bond. Our pack is in harmony tonight, love. It is because of you. They are excited finally to have an alpha female to lead them. I'm happy to have you by my side as well, Lucian said as he trailed butterfly kisses down my neck and shoulders. I love you, Lucian, I said and wrapped my arms around his. An hour passed while we cuddled and listened to the sounds of the forest. Finally, we separated. We walked back towards the forest clearing hand in hand to join the rest of the pack. Once we entered the clearing, I noticed that several pits were built, where the Omegas were roasting various other kills. I could already smell cooked meat and my stomach rumbled. As per the custom, Lucian and I were offered the first plates, and I felt lucky for the privilege. I was starving. Lucian's POV the pack was going wild, while Alice and I relaxed on a small mound overlooking the pack. We were lying on the grass looking up at the stars. Holding her in my arms on the soft carpet of grass felt good. Your favorite dish? She asked. A rare steak, I replied. It was her idea of getting to know each other better. Asking random questions from each other. Mine too, she laughed. Your favorite color? Blue, I replied. Well, I like purple, close enough. This was fun, I chuckled. Okay, now some personal and controversial stuff. She warned. Your first time? She asked mischievously. Seriously? You want to talk about that now? I asked laughing. Of course, it's a part of knowing each other. I must know everything about you. Am I allowed to inquire? I asked, looking down at her. She hesitated for a few seconds. Of course, you may. All right, I lost my virginity when I was 16, she wasn't a wolf, I went to this party hosted by one of my high school friends, and we hooked up. I could sense her jealousy. Well, she brought it upon herself. Did you love her? No. I was a teenager and full of hormones. Well, I am still hormonal, but now I have you. I replied, nuzzling her mark. That seemed to please her. All right, my turn. What about you? I asked, raising an eyebrow. She stiffened a little. I was 17, he was in my school. After months of dating, we finally did it. He cheated on me the very next day. That must have been terrible, I said, pushing down the pang of jealousy. Not really, I accosted him in a dark alley in my hybrid form, warned him against cheating on anyone ever. He needed months of therapy to recover from that. He never found out that it was me. That was brutal, I said. I had no idea my mate was so vicious. She laughed. Don't worry, as long as you don't hurt me, you are good. She said, sliding her hand on my bare chest. Okay, my turn now. Why do Rick and you hate each other? I was not expecting this question, at least not immediately. In such a romantic setting, lying after a heated session. But she would know someday. It was better that I told her, rather than hearing it from a third person. I sighed. We don't hate each other, it's more of a misunderstanding. She turned on her stomach and propped herself on her elbows, looked down at me. Her hair fell all around her like a curtain. Explain. Promise me, you won't get upset. He spoke. Now I am really curious. Well, it's because of Linda, his mate. She blinked, I could sense her surprise. Linda and I were in the same college, and we were dating for some time before Rick found her as his mate, I said cautiously and observed her for her reaction. She sat up immediately. What? Why didn't you tell me this? I sat up with her and held her shoulders. It wasn't anything serious, Alice, I wasn't in love with her. We just dated for a while and when she met Rick, we broke up amicably. I understand the mating pull. It's not like I was heartbroken or anything. I tried to reason with her. I like Linda, I can't hate her. She said, rubbing her temples. You don't need to feel jealous, if it's any consolation, we never slept together. I added, hoping to stifle her jealousy. She started laughing, but I could sense she was relieved. So that is why Rick hates you. Alpha jealousy, and I thought. Anyway, I am glad you told me. She smiled and I heaved a sigh of relief. So, are you up for any more truths and dares? I joked. Nah. I think I have had enough for one day. Come here, I said, pulling her in my arms. We cuddled and watched the pack dancing around the fire pits for a while. I saw your home while leaving the pack house. Why don't you live there? She asked suddenly. I moved for convenience, it was easier to manage the pack from pack houses, the house was too big and lonely, I replied. But your mother still stays there, isn't it? She asked. Yes, I replied shortly. I want to see your house, and I have yet to meet your mother. She spoke. I threaded my fingers through hers. Sure, we'll visit her tomorrow. She would be delighted. Though I am not sure if she would recognize anyone. I stepped into the cozy pretty house, with Lucian. I had chosen to wear a nice front-buttoned dress rather than my usual sweatpants today. Even if his mother was not in her senses, I wanted to appear presentable. Where is Mom? He turned to ask one of the Omegas who had opened the door. She is in on the deck, Alpha, she replied. The house was two-storied. The first floor had the main hall, kitchen, dining and the backyard. It was well furnished with state-of-the-art furniture. On the upper floor the bedrooms, a central living room and a huge deck overlooking the river. It was beautiful, and I fell in love with it immediately. I nervously approached an older woman in her 50s sitting in the armchair knitting something. Hey, Mom, Lucian said, walking over and pulling her in for a hug and pressing a kiss to her cheek. How are you today? She turned and looked a little confused, then affectionately patted his darkly bristled jaw. She told him, Are you back from school? He smiled, Yes, I am back from school. Well, where is your sister? Tell her I don't like that hideous bicolor color of hers. He chuckled. Mom, I found my mate. He looked at me and gestured me to come in the front. The white-haired woman stared at me with her piercing green eyes. So this is where Lucian got his eyes from. She was a strikingly beautiful woman, with the same green eyes as Lucian. Werewolves live long. She was still lovely though her hair had turned white, and she looked like a human would in their 50s, which was not normal for a wolf. Rose. What are you doing here? She asked, a little confused. Lucian narrowed his eyes. Mother, this is Alice, my mate. She held my hands and said in an agitated voice. Rose, Regina is still alive, you must kill her. Mother, she is not Rose, he sighed. Who is Regina? I asked. I was shocked beyond words because Rose was my mother's name. The witch. She whispered, and then she suddenly left my hand and picked up her knitting as if nothing happened. Lucian and I exchanged looks. I am sorry, I told you she is not in her senses. He apologized. On the contrary, I feel she still remembers things from the past. Rose was my mother's name. And I believe she thinks I am her. I look like my mother. I spoke. His eyes widened in surprise. That means our mothers knew each other. I nodded. What happened to her? I asked. He took a deep breath. The poison killed her wolf. It's rare, but it can be done by some rare kind of poison. My dad and then her wolf's loss drove her insane. He said sadly. That explained the unnatural aging. She was human now. I felt a surge of pity for the woman. Our wolves use part of our soul. I could not imagine living without her. Leaving his mom in the care of the Omegas, we walked out of his house. The visit had raised more questions for me. Lucian, wait. We need to talk. He stopped and turned, raising his eyebrows. Who is Regina? Do you know something which I am unaware of? I asked. He sighed. Trust me, you are better off not knowing about her. He replied and started walking away briskly. Lucian, don't you think you must try to find out what your mother meant? I insisted. We had now left the garden and were walking to the pack house. My mother says a lot of stuff, most of them are just irrelevant jabber. He said with a hardened face. She called me Rose, though. She recognized my mother. Yeah, I am not her, but she was not blabbering. Are you hiding something? I implored. He ran a hand through his hair. You won't like this, Alice. I stepped closer and hugged him. It's okay, I can take it. I felt his body shudder in response. He pulled me towards the woods, and we sat near the river bank. Your mother was a witch, as you already know, witches live in covens, similar to packs, just that they are smaller. When she left her coven to be with your father, her leader, and few others didn't like it. I raised an eyebrow. Then when you were born, they wanted you. What? Why did they want me? You are special, Alice, he said, tucking a strand of my hair. I don't understand. Well, I don't understand most of it myself, but you have a mix of a witch and a werewolf blood. So does Rick. Rick is a man, witches inherit their powers from their mothers, hence you are special, not him. Wait. Are you implying that I am a witch because that is ridiculous? No, I am not implying that. Now listen carefully. He explained the scenario of my parents' death. The attack on the hotel for me and my mother defending me from her leader Regina. It was all because of me, I mumbled. I was all my fault, I could not stop the tears anymore. All this while, I was under the assumption that I was sent away because of my trauma. But now I knew it was because I was a danger to my pack, my family. I should not have existed at all. It's not true, Alice, he said. Of course, he heard my thoughts. I was open to him. In my anxiety, I had not guarded my thoughts. Then what is the truth, Lucian? All this while, I even resented Rick for sending me away. While he, Aunt Flora, everyone were just trying to protect me. My breathing became ragged, and I was losing control. Lana was taking over. Alice, you are shifting. He shouted. But I was already sprinting through the forest, tearing off my dress. I had shifted, and I was running to escape my pain. I heard his call in my mind to stop, but I ignored it. I ran for miles, and I was uncertain if Lucian was following me. Furthermore, I had closed my mind to him. I wanted to be alone. As I passed through a small hill, a whiff of a male wolf reached my nostrils. It was familiar, but it was not Lucian's or any other wolf from the pack. Then the scent of the female wolf started to mix with the male scent. I sensed fear in the female's blood. Something was wrong. Following the scent, I moved through the brush and finally saw her, Meg, one of the girls who worked in the kitchen. She was tied. Her face was bruised, and her body was battered with multiple cuts and bruises. One wolf was raping her while the other stalked the ground around her, circling her like a lump of raw meat. She was crying out in pain. Lucian! I screamed in my mind, horrified by the scene. I prayed he could hear me. I heard one word come back to me like he was mumbling it from a distance: run. I suddenly recognized those wolves. They were those traitors or part of the group who had kidnapped me. Now, they were hurting a member of my pack. I was not going to run. Two heads popped up and turned to stare at me. They had sniffed me. I bared my teeth and growled. Lucian's voice bellowed into my head, "Run, I will take care of them. I cannot run away while one of my pack members is being raped." I thought back to him. I had to stay and fight. "You will do no such thing," Lucian called, sounding desperate. "Run now." I chose to ignore him. The rogues climbed the hill toward me. I held my ground and growled my disapproval at them. Higher ground was better in a fight, so I stayed and watched them. I remembered seeing them at the cabin. That memory filled me with anger. They were taken surprised by my presence because they did not plan their attack. Neither did they attack together. I toyed with them for some time, circling. Then I struck at one of them swiftly. A quick series of swipes from deadly claws ripped the slowest one's head from his body. The other one had jumped on me, trying to aim for my neck. Lucian suddenly jumped on him in his wolf form. I sidestepped. A large chunk of his hind leg was removed with a deft move of Lucian's wrist. He howled in pain and turned to come at me again. I bared my teeth for the next attack. Lucian's black wolf came at him and sunk his teeth in the rogue's body. At the same time, the rough moved and ripped at his ear. I saw blood on Lucian's ear and a growl escaped my throat. He had hurt my mate. It was time to end this. I sought his neck and went for the kill without remorse. "Alice, behind you!" Lucian screamed in my mind. Taken aback, I turned. A third rogue had suddenly appeared and was jumping at me, but I was ready. He never saw my jaws snapping around his neck. His bones cracked like a twig. As my jaws caught, the sinew of his throat ripped away. His body fell to the ground, unmoving, and I celebrated with a long howl to the sky. "Lucian, they are dead," I called out to him, shaking out my coat. "You disobeyed me again, Alice," he warned. "But I could have handled them," I protested. "There could have been more," he was furious. "No," I called back to him, "it was just them, and I could handle them." "There was a third one who took you surprised," he said sternly. "Can we do this later? We have an injured girl to take care of." I was aware of his anger at me for not listening to him. He was beyond furious. I would have to worry about him later. Meg moaned softly as I padded silently down to her. She was severely injured. Sniffing around, I noted her hands were bound with a strong coarse rope, cutting into her skin. Her legs were bound separately on the ground, spread far apart, leaving her exposed and vulnerable. I was disgusted. I used my nose to sniff her. She was breathing, and she did not have any life-threatening injuries. They had exploited her until she probably screamed for mercy. Focusing on healing her, I licked and cleaned, closing the wounds. Though, her mental wounds would be deeper. Lucian shifted and released her arms' legs, and I noticed his bleeding ear. "You are hurt, let me heal you," I said in his mind. "I am fine, the betas would be arriving here soon. They will take care of her," he replied curtly. I shifted back to human. "Are you mad at me?" I asked softly. "Yes. I am very mad at you." He glared back at me. "Darn it!" I thought. A whimper broke my reverie. As I knelt back down, I saw two terrified brown eyes staring up at me. "Madame Luna," she mumbled. "Meg, don't worry, "You are safe now," I said in a soft voice. She sat up beside me, tears drying on her cheeks. She took in the scene around us and glanced up at Lucian. The bodies of the werewolves lay in a pile. "Are they dead?" she asked quietly. "Yes, they can't hurt you anymore." "Are there others?" "No," she whispered. She pulled her knees up and hugged them. I glanced at Lucian, not knowing what to do. "Comfort her," he said in my mind. So, I placed my arm around her. The revving of engines announced the arrival of the betas. "Come," I said to her, "we should go back. Your family must be worried." "I burned the cabin, ma'am," she said softly as I helped her stand. "Sorry, what?" I asked her to keep my eyes on the cars and other wolves. "I burned the cabin, ma'am," she repeated. Before I knew it, Lucian was holding Meg off the ground by her throat. Blood ran in thick rivers from her neck. "What did you say?" he grunted angrily. She threw her head back and bared it to him. "Lucian, no! Leave her!" I screamed. "Do not stop me, Alice!" He seethed in anger, tightening his grip on her throat. "Please, Lucian, we must interrogate her first. You know, to find out other accomplices." I pleaded. I just wanted him to leave her. She was the victim here, I knew. He stared at me, then dropped her on the forest floor. She cowered in a lump in front of me and bared her neck again. I knelt again and asked her gently, "Why would you do that?" "Because Tyler asked me to do it," she said without any emotion. "He was the one whom you killed," she added, gesturing back at the bodies. "Why did you want to kill me?" I asked. Lucian was listening intently, and his anger was rising. He would kill her right now if I did not stop him. The poor girl had been abused and manipulated. "I never wanted you dead, Madame Luna." "He said he loved me, he promised to make me his mate. He said he was starting a new pack and I would be his Luna. Everyone warned me, he was not nice. But I didn't have anyone else." She broke down and Lucian gave a disgusting look. I felt a surge of compassion for the girl. Being mateless can drive some wolves to do irrational things. "Come on, you need a healer, we'll talk more later," I said. "Please take away my life, I don't deserve to stay alive," she sobbed. I grabbed the sweats and robes which Damon passed along and gave one to Meg while I wrapped a robe around myself. "She is hurt badly and should be taken to the healer as soon as possible," I said to Lucian. "Yes, I understand," he scowled. "And we need to get you back home now. Promise me she won't be harmed," I asked Lucian. His eyes narrowed. "As per pack laws she should be dead, but I will decide her punishment later," he replied. He rattled off the orders, and we were soon bundled up in the waiting cars. Lucian did not speak to me until we had reached our quarter. "Lucian, please talk to me," I said as soon as we had entered our room. "What do you want me to say?" he snapped. "I am sorry, love. Please. Don't you ever get tired of saying those words?" he asked, sounding angry. "Be mad at me. I know it was wrong. I should have turned around the minute you said so. But I could not stop. My protective instincts kicked in, and I had to save her. And you know I fought well. I am a strong wolf. I wrapped my hands tightly around his arms, as I looked up into his eyes. He looked irritated and tired. You were very brave, as well as very foolish, love. And you disobeyed me. What am I supposed to do with you? He sighed. I don't know, punish me again? I asked. He smiled. He slowly came at me and wrapped me in his arms. I would have died if something happened to you. Do not do such stunts again. He nuzzled into my hair. Lucian, I can't sit around doing nothing, I am an alpha, I will fight along with you. I was extremely upset, my parents died because of me. I just needed to vent out, so I ran, then when I saw Meg, I had to protect her. Killing those wolves gave me a release, a purpose. I am sorry for being reckless. His face softened, and he kissed my tear-marked cheeks. Don't blame yourself for whatever happened in the past, none of it was your fault. If you did not exist, how would I have got such a lovely, brave, and kind mate? He smiled his dimpled smile. So, will you forgive Meg as well? Forgiveness for trying to kill you? He growled. She is the victim here, Lucian, she was being manipulated by her boyfriend. Can't you see it? I explained, trying to think of something to save her. No, I don't see it, as per pack rules. She has to die. He declared. But I want to forgive her, I said stubbornly. That's not your decision. Why not? I am Luna, I would like to forgive her. She has paid for her crimes. His eyes turned steely and his countenance changed. No, I sighed. Well, if we kill her, we'll never find the rest of the rogues. I shrugged. What do you mean? He asked, narrowing his eyes. Her boyfriend was exploiting her and making her do things, maybe she knows more about them, like where they are hiding. Who is helping them? That kind of stuff. We can use her to get to them. I tried to reason, praying that he would get convinced. He was thoughtful for several seconds. All right, let's see what she knows. Alice's POV. A shivering Meg arrived in my suit with a rather stern-looking Savannah. I had requested Lucian to let me interrogate her alone. He would just frighten her more. Hence, he had left to attend to his business. How are you feeling now? I asked, smiling pleasantly. She tried to kill herself, Savannah said, irritated. Is it true, Meg? I asked. She was tearful. Madam Luna, I am ashamed of what I did, I don't deserve to stay alive anymore. My family has disowned me. I have nothing worth living for. She cried. Your punishment is for me to decide, take this as your trial. I turned towards Savannah, thanks for your help. I would like to speak with her in private. Savannah looked a bit startled. Are you certain? She tried to kill you. It is not advisable to be alone with her. She might try to harm you again. I rolled my eyes. I am capable of protecting myself from an injured Omega, so you don't need to worry about me, Savannah. Savannah looked reluctant to leave, but she could not defy my command. Once we were alone, I turned towards Meg and passed her a tissue box. Meg, I know you have suffered a lot, and it's not your fault. You were being abused and manipulated. I want to help you, but it is only possible if you help me out. Will you answer my questions?" She nodded. "Good, now open your mind to me, you can show me your thoughts if you cannot talk about them." She nodded. "So, Taylor was your mate, I suppose?" "No, he wasn't my mate, I never found my mate, he was good to me and I thought we could be together. Then he changed. He wanted to rise in the ranks. He hated being bossed around. Furthermore, he believed he was better than the alphas and the betas. They were born with privileges. He made some new friends outside the pack. They filled him with all sorts of weird ideas. I asked him to stay away from them, but he hit me instead. He forced me to do things which I didn't like. Things like spying on the alpha. He wanted to know about the pack activities, the security, everything. I tried not to help him, then he used to abuse me. Why didn't you just break up with him? I thought I loved him, and he promised me he would take care of me. I fell for his lies, then he made me burn the cabin. I refused, then he said he would kill my family if I did not help. He ordered me to implicate Eliza so that I would not get caught. He asked me to meet again and wanted me to poison you and the alpha, but I refused. So, they raped me." She broke down again. "My wolf wanted to kill her for trying to harm my mate and me, but my human side wanted to forgive her. You do have a chance of redemption if you tell me everything you know about this Taylor and his friends. Where do they live? What do they do?" "They are mostly rogues, from other packs. I do not know much about them, but I overheard them saying that they have some woman helping them. She has promised to make them powerful enough to take on all the packs if they cooperate. They are making an army of wolves or something like that to take on all the packs." I furrowed my brows. "What woman? Do you know her name? Anything?" She shook her head in a no. "Can you tell me more about his friends?" "Taylor used to go around with these bikers. They called themselves something like Flying Wolves." I smiled. "Thank you, Meg, you have been a big help." Lucian's POV. I was having a hard time focusing on the board meeting, which had been going on for hours. I had many things running through my mind. It looked like the Rouge attacks, the attempts on Alice, they were all somehow linked. The Rouges have always been a problem for packs, but they are usually kept under check. But nowadays, they seem to have gotten stronger. "Alpha, there is urgent news," Damon whispered in my ears. I nodded and dismissed the pointless meeting. I would simply convey my decision later. That is how things typically worked. Meetings were just an illusion for the investors to make them think that they participated in the decision-making. "Tell me," I commanded as soon as everyone had dispersed. "Last night there was an attack on the Silverstone pack, it was bad. They took away most of the females. The pack has been slaughtered and they killed the alpha," Damon said with a somber face. My blood chilled. Attacks were normal, but destroying an entire pack. This was something that rarely occurred. Not at this age at least. Most of the packs had upgraded to modern technology and surveillance, hence managing the Rouges was easier. Silverstone was one of the smallest and most primitive packs. Its Alpha Shun technology relied on their wolf strength and the modern weapons. They rarely ventured out of their pack grounds. Some of their youngsters had never seen a human city or interacted with humans. They were so aloof that their alpha rarely attended the alpha meets. It was not surprising that it fell to the more sophisticated Rouges. We must leave for their land and salvage what can be saved. Let me call for an emergency alpha meet. The next hour was spent talking and coordinating with other alphas. I called Alice to inform her about the proceedings. That's so terrible, Lucian. What will happen to the survivors? They will be taken in by the other packs. I am going to check on them and see what I can do to help. Please prepare the betas and the pack house for these people. I am not certain how many of them I would be bringing. Could be 50 to 100 anything. Don't worry, love, I will accommodate all of them. She assured me. And the compound will be in lockdown until I am back. All security protocols have to be observed, which means you need to stay put and obey me. I warned. There was a pause. I won't disobey you, I promise. Love you, Lucian. Please take care, she replied. I smiled. Love you too, Alice, I replied. One more thing, I got out some information about the rogues from Meg. We need to compare notes when you are back. She spoke. Sure, we will. I reached the Silverstone pack around late evening. The smell of blood and death was overpowering. Both my brother-in-laws Daniel and Rick were already there trying to access the situation. They were after the females. Younger and unmated. Rick said grimly. I can see that. What about the others? I asked. We found some women and children hidden in one of the basements. They missed that basement somehow. A few injured men. That's all. Their pack house was built in an older style. The entire pack lived in one building with several flats. The survivors were scared, and they assumed that we were here to capture them. It took a while to calm them down. A large grey wolf, probably a beta, was zealously guarding a 5-year-old girl among the kids. He bared his teeth when we approached. He is not letting us through, Damon said in frustration. Hello there, I am the Alpha of Crimson Shadow Pack, we are here to help you. Please don't be afraid. I said as gently as I could. The wolf seemed to relax a little, but then the little girl whimpered, and it bared its teeth again. I know you have been attacked, and your alpha is dead. I am taking over your pack, submit to me. I commanded. The wolf seemed to stare at me, then bowed its head. Shift, I commanded. He shifted into a burly, red-haired man. He was tall with sun-kissed skin. He seemed to be about 45, though still young in appearance. Who are you? I asked. I am Dallas, he said sorrowfully. Please end my life, I don't deserve to live. And why is that? I asked. I couldn't save my alpha and my pack. I don't deserve to live. No, Uncle Dallas, you can't die, the little girl held his leg and cried. It was a pitiful sight. Who is she? I asked. She is the youngest daughter of Alpha Smith, I could only save her. He said pitifully. I looked at the little girl with golden curls. She is the Alpha's daughter. She will be protected and taken care of. You have my word. Please come with me. You won't let her alone among strangers, will you? The man seemed to contemplate for a few seconds, then relented. It was early morning by the time I reached the pack with Dallas and 20 other survivors. We had divided the survivors to be taken in by other packs. I felt a flood of relief when Alice ran out to hug me. "Gosh! I missed you," she whispered. "How was my little wolf?" I joked, nuzzling her hair. "Very well behaved," she joked back. I hugged her tightly, then took her towards her SUVs from which the survivors were being taken out. They looked around fearfully. "Catherine, I want you to arrange for rooms for these people right away," I ordered. When she did not respond, I turned towards her curiously. Catherine and Dallas were staring at each other as if oblivious of their surroundings. "Catherine," I nudged her. "Alpha, I think I found my mate," she replied, still staring at Dallas. Alice's POV I watched in amusement as Catherine and the new fellow familiarized with each other, sniffing, and touching. Catherine had waited a long time for her mate, and it was worth it. The entire pack was distracted by their bonding, and even a few survivor women were smiling. "Well, that's quite interesting," I laughed. "Not as interesting as our first meeting," Lucian quipped. And I blushed at the memory of myself running away from him. "Alpha, please, can he stay with me?" Catherine begged. "Sure, Catherine, he is your mate," Lucian replied, smiling. I looked at the wide-eyed little girl hiding behind Dallas. "Hello dear, what is your name?" I asked her. She yelped and hid fearfully behind his legs. "It's okay, sweetheart, we will be safe here. You just got yourself a new aunt," Dallas said, picking her up in his arms. "I am Alice, Luna of the Crimson Shadow Pack. You are all welcome to stay here. I am sorry about the loss and the pain which you all had to suffer. We promise you would be safe and protected here," I said to all the newcomers. They seemed to relax, though some were still skeptical. "Thanks, Madam Luna, I am Dallas, I was one of the beta. And this is Namara, Alpha's daughter, and only survivor of the Smith family." "An Alpha's daughter?" I exclaimed, looking at the little girl. "I assure you she would receive all love and protection fit for an Alpha." I turned towards the little girl. "Hello, Namara. I am Alice, we have a big playroom full of toys. Would you like to see?" She looked at me with her crystal blue eyes. "Do you keep ice cream in there?" "I am not sure, but this nice lady, Catherine, would take you to the kitchens and let you have some ice cream." I nodded at Catherine. The girl grinned and jumped into my arms. The rest of the day passed in settling down the newcomers and getting them introduced to the pack. Those several empty rooms of the mansion were finally being used. I was delighted by the warm welcome they received from the pack members. We had dinner with the pack again, just like the night of my introduction. Namara looked happy and comfortable, sitting between Catherine and Dallas. "She is glowing, isn't it?" I overheard one of the younger girls speaking about Catherine. "Yeah, I hope I get my mate soon," the other girl replied. "I want a mate who loves to cuddle," the girl said dreamily. "You can't choose your mate. It's the Luna who chooses one for you," the other girl quipped. I smiled at their banter, and I knew what the pack needed now. They required a mating ball or a mating party. Perhaps, getting their mates could stop some youngsters from turning rouge. Lucian had been on the edge all day, though. He had screamed at Damon for missing some security details. Reprimanded anyone who did not follow the lockdown rules. By evening, wolves were cowering away from him in fear. "Run with me," I offered to Lucian after dinner. "I will give you a 2-minute head start," he replied. I stripped off my dress and shifted mid-stride into my wolf form. I latched eyes on the forest and headed for a path that led to the river bank. I felt him shift as he took off after me. "Catch me if you can," I taunted and kept running. I knew that he required this. He barreled toward me. He was faster than I had anticipated, and I bolted to stay ahead of him. We broke into the meadow. The terrain gave him the same advantage it gave me. I could see the dark forest finally looming on the other side of the river when a soft voice invaded my mind. "Yield," was all Lucian said. "No," I shot back, continuing to run. I felt that he was not behind me anymore, and I turned to see him stop in the field. "We need to talk," he panted. I shifted back to a human form and walked toward him. We sat in the grass and stared at each other for a moment. I knew what he was thinking. He was worried about our safety. The light evening breeze kept blowing errant strands of grass to brush against me. It was making me a little turned on. We were beside the river bank near his old house, sitting on the edge as the river flowed gently. This place was our new favorite. It was secured enough to discuss sensitive issues, and there was no chance of breaking any furniture if things got a little wild. "Well, what did you find out from Meg?" Lucian asked, breaking a blade of grass absent-mindedly. "She told me quite a lot, that Tyler Guy used to hang around with some rogues who had created a biker gang." I explained everything which I had gathered from Meg. "That's especially useful information, Alice. We can track that gang and finish off those rouges for good," he said, a little distracted. "She also mentioned a woman, who is helping them. Do you reckon it might be Regina?" I asked, touching his shoulder. "It's a possibility. Dallas mentions those rogues didn't have a scent, that's the reason they were able to sneak into their pack land. Unlike other packs, they do not have any electronic surveillance systems. Heck! They do not even own cell phones. Moonstone was one of the most primitive and feral packs. So, we can say they were a soft target. But despite our modern weapons and security, we are also at risk." He looked ahead at the dark waters. "I think they are using the scent masking spells, that can only be made by witches. Aunt Flora made them for me to avoid vampires. I used that to escape from you at the service station," I confessed. He raised an eyebrow. "That explains it. This attack was not a one-off, the rogues have sent a message," he added. "A message?" "Yes, that they are getting stronger, and they are coming for us. They have a witch helping them. Probably Regina," he said with finality. "We have to increase the patrols first and add more infrared cameras in the forests. Currently, anything inside the forest is not secure," he added. "I will talk to Aunt Flora about this Regina and what kind of magical stuff she could be creating for the rouges," I said. "We must increase defenses training sessions for the pack. Everyone above 16 must join," he added. Lucian and I talked for a long time, sitting there, planning defenses, catching the rogues and getting other packs involved. Lucian seemed to get relaxed. Eventually, we decided on the strategy required to finish off this gang for good. How do you feel now? I asked him. Better. I was somewhat shaken by the carnage at the Moonstone Pack. He spoke. I guessed so, hence I thought an outing would make you feel better, I smiled. The wind blew and the grass behind me tickled across my mid-back. I arched toward Lucian at the sensation. He raised an eyebrow and his interest started to rise. So, will you forgive Meg now? I asked expectantly. He chuckled. You'll never let this go, isn't it? Not until you agree. All right, convince me, he said, crawling up to me. And how would the alpha like to be convinced? I asked mischievously. Surprise me, he whispered. His lips were on mine a second later. He cradled my head and nibbled at my lower lip. As the kiss deepened, I moaned into his mouth. He pushed me back until I was flat on my back in the long grass. He kissed and nibbled my mark, making me moan with pleasure. We tussled for a bit, then I flipped him over, getting on top. You are at my mercy, pack leader, I joked. What are you planning to do with me? He smirked. I moved back and caught his rigid shaft. Leaning forward, I licked his base to tip as I watched his eyes. Go ahead, he whispered. My mouth closed on the head of his shaft and I took him deep. Grunting softly, he ran his hands through my hair. Gripping the back of my head, he pulled me forward until I took him to the root. That's wonderful, he moaned, massaging the back of my head. I liked him like this, completely at my mercy. Looking into his eyes, I put my lips gently on him and sucked hard. As I withdrew off the thick rod, I slid my tongue over the base, licking and stimulating. He took most of his weight on his elbow and leaned back. I slid my mouth over his whole shaft, slow at first, then faster. Soon, I could feel him pulsating in my mouth. He arched his back in pleasure and groaned as he climaxed. I was happy to serve my mate, it was a heavenly feeling. Lana loved it. Is this why you tempted me out here, mate? He asked, pulling me up to lie on him. He grabbed me and kneaded. Kind of, I answered, playful, offering him my throat to nibble on. Meg is forgiven, he said. Really? I looked at him excitedly. Yes, but just this once. Don't make it a habit, he warned. He flipped me over, pinning me under him. You mean I can't tempt you out for having my way with you? I asked mischievously. He wrapped my legs around his waist and ground into me, as the soft grass rubbed my back. You can always have your way with me, but that doesn't mean you can get anything approved. He replied, nibbling my neck. I wanted to argue more, but his thrusts were too distracting. And get back Eliza into the pack. I panted through his thrusts. Yes, now will you shut up, he said, breathing hard as he swelled inside me. I chuckled, wrapping my arms around his shoulders. It was early morning by the time we finished and returned to the pack house. Regina was alive but left powerless by your mother, Aunt Flora said after I explained everything to her. I had managed to convince Lucian to let me visit the Jade Moon Pack. Aunt Flora was fickle, it was difficult to have a conversation with her on the phone. Lucian finally relented, though he would not let me go out of his sight, hence he tagged along. Leaving Damon as in charge, we left with Savannah and a few other betas. Lucian had to discuss the rogues and the witch issue with Rick. So, the trip to the Jade Moon turned out to be favorable. I found Aunt Flora in the nursery, babysitting Clara and Jonathan, Rick's twins. The kids were busy, playing with the building blocks. "I am sorry I don't understand, Auntie. Your mother was a true-born witch, Regina wasn't. There are two kinds of witches, one who is born with some magical ability, like mind-reading, conjuring, ability to talk to spirits. Others do not have any special abilities, but they can create spells and potions. They learn to be a witch. Regina didn't have any power of her own. But she was a coven leader, isn't it?" I asked. I assumed being a leader meant being the alpha, the strongest. Being a coven leader is a democratic process, it's not like the wolves where the strongest alpha becomes the leader. Your mother was not interested in heading a coven. Regina coveted power. She was good at managing the coven, hence she was chosen as the leader. However, she started to change. She became jealous of other more powerful witches, started selling dubious potions and spells for money. She even dabbled in black magic, which is forbidden. I had no idea about the different types of magic, but black magic was bad news, even for a layman. "Do you think she might have indulged in making poisons? Something which could harm werewolves?" I asked, thinking about Lucian's mother. "It's possible," Aunt Flora said. She stared at Clara for a few seconds. "She wanted you, hence I took you away from this place. She couldn't travel out of the country, she was broke." "I am aware of that, Auntie," I replied softly. I placed a hand on hers. "Thank you. But why did she want me?" She smiled, "When your mother left the coven and turned. Regina went deep into black magic. Most of the witches including me left the coven. She became weak and desperate. In her bid to gain power, she tried to kidnap you for blood magic. Werewolves are supernatural creatures. They already have magic in them. In ancient times, their blood was used for various magical potions. Of course, they are no more practiced. You have the blood of a witch and the werewolf. Hybrids are sought after for blood magic. So, when she went after you, your mother nearly killed her. Destroyed whatever was left of her coven, and Regina went underground. She never truly disappeared, though. She had been biding her time, and I believe she is back." I stayed quiet for some time, processing the information. "Do you think these rogues are being helped by Regina?" "I am quite certain it's her," Auntie replied. "Come on, I will show you something interesting." She stood up and walked towards the twins. Puzzled, I followed her where the kids were playing with building blocks. "Clara dear, can you have shown that trick to your aunt?" she said to Clara. Clara gave me a toothy grin, and suddenly the blocks in her hands levitated in the air. I gasped, while she giggled, making the blocks float with her fingers. "What was that?" I almost shouted. "Stop showing off," Jonathan grumbled. "You are jealous because you can't do this cool stuff," Clara retorted, sticking out her tongue. "Thanks, Clara, you can stop now, and don't quarrel with your brother," Anta said. The blocks fell with a clatter. What just happened? I contemplated pinching myself. This could not be real. Clara is a witch, a truly born of witch, Aunt Flora said proudly. My mouth fell open in shock. How? The magic of the wolf and the witch cannot be alternated. Rose, Clara's grandmother, was a witch that mated to a wolf and gave birth to Rick and you, both wolves. The witch's magic still runs in her line, though. Clara inherited it. It runs in your line too. When you conceive, you could give birth to a wolf or a witch. If it is a girl, your sons will be the carrier of that trait. It doesn't manifest in boys. Aunt Flora explained. You mean my daughter can be a witch instead of a wolf? I was not sure how to take this information. How would Lucian react to it? Not necessarily. The witch characteristics may remain dormant for generations, and suddenly manifest in some child in the future. Like it manifested in Clara. She lightly patted the brown curls of the little girl. So, Clara is not a wolf? Do Rick and Linda know? I wondered how Clara would deal with growing up different among wolves. Yes, and they are happy about it. Clara has a choice. She might choose to remain a witch, or turn into a wolf if she mates with one. Not everyone gets a choice. She is lucky. Anta said and chuckled. Rick and Linda were very open-minded, and so was my former pack. She would not face any problems here. Well, that's interesting. I placed a kiss on Clara's forehead, who was getting confused by sudden attention from her aunt and granny. Alice, sorry to interrupt, but Lucian is looking for you. Savannah suddenly barged in, looking perplexed. What is it, Savannah? I asked, wondering why he did not simply talk to me through our mind link instead of sending Savannah. They found some information about the rogues, she explained. I found Lucian, Rick, and their betas in Rick's study. Two teenagers were standing sheepishly next to Bobby. I took the empty seat next to Lucian. These two kids were contacted by one of the rogues through social media. They were trying to lure them out, Bobby said. I could see Rick's face becoming tense. Spill it out, he ordered. There was this fellow, Jamie, who was cast out with others last year. We were hanging out one night near the mall in the city and bumped into him. The first kid said. We didn't stay to talk to him, though. It would be against the Alpha's orders. The second one added, nervously, lest they got a dressing down from Rick. After a few days, he sent us a message through our Facebook. He invited us to this party. He throws these very cool parties with many drinks and girls and invites youngsters from different packs. We never attended them though, the second kid added again. I smiled a little. Where does he throw these parties? Lucian interrupted. At different places, sir. Some run-down warehouse, or motel, an abandoned junkyard. He calls the youngsters and asks them to join them. They are a bad sort. What's your name, kids? Lucian asked. I am Devon, and I am Steve, the boys replied. All right, Devon and Steve, next time you get a party invite, attend it. Lucian smiled. Rick and I turned towards him and nodded. Lucian was sending them as moles. The boys looked a little frightened and turned towards Rick. You are allowed to go, don't worry, you won't get into trouble as long as you follow my instructions. The boys seemed to relax once their alpha assured them. Once the boys were dismissed, we further discussed the strategy to catch the Rouges. You are having problems with the rogues and rebellious youngsters as well? Lucian asked Rick. Yeah, it seemed to have accelerated recently. That Jamie was cast out along with 5 others for being a constant nuisance. Rick said grimly. We have 2 problems, the rogues and Regina. I believe both are connected and working together. I explained the incident with Meg. We'll have to call the leaders of the other packs and get them on board. The packs would stop the rogues. Rick added. How do we track Regina? I asked. Through the rogues, we need to catch them alive and torture it out of them, Lucian replied menacingly. The rest of the day passed in talking and planning the raids with the other alphas. Things will be much stringent until this is over. We have enjoyed a period of peace and freedom, but it will not remain unless the threat is removed. It is like the old times. Lucian commented, sinking into the couch after we returned to the Crimson Shadow Pack. I found out a few things about myself from Aunt Flora, I said, and explained my bloodline containing the witch's traits to him. That's fascinating, Lucian replied. You are not disturbed? That our daughter, if we have one or some child in future, might not be a wolf, but a witch. He chuckled and pulled me towards him. I climbed onto his lap to straddle his waist. It doesn't matter whatever they are, as long as they are healthy and happy. I am fine with it. He whispered, kissing my mark. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.